Hey guys, as always, thanks for tuning in. So what we're going to show you today is what to do if your BitPixel LED is died. So if your BitPixel LED is died, you could actually buy a new one from Pixelcade.org. We do sell them. AtGames no longer sells them, but we sell them over at Pixelcade.org. But if you're a DIY guy and you're open to do a little surgery, which is what I'm going to show you here, you can get it back up and running with some replacement parts. So what you're going to need for this video is the BitPixel to Pixelcade replacement kit. So that's going to come with a couple panels, new controller board, power cable, and power brick. Now, at the time of this video, it's kind of all or nothing. You got to replace both the board and the panels. Down the road, we may have an option, if there's demand, let us know, to just replace the panels or just replace the board, right? Because with your BitPixel, your board may be working, but your panels may not, or vice versa, or both may be bad, right? So, but right now it's all or nothing. But I would love your feedback if there's demand for that kit to kind of just do just the board or just the panels. That's something we can look into going forward. But for now, it's all or nothing. So let's get into it. Let me show you how to do this replacement. So first thing we need to do is remove the screws. So if you look at your BitPixel, there's going to be some wood screws on both sides here. You're going to want to take both of those out. Don't worry about the hardware, right? So this hanging hardware, these guys, you can leave those alone. And then there's these screws here that connect to your panels, which you need to take out. So if you have a screw gun available, that might make this a little bit easier to take out these wood screws. Always a good idea, have some sort of cup or something, put the screws in, because you always lose just that one screw. Okay, so then for the panel screws, those ones you do not want to use your screw gun for. Those ones you got to take out by hand. So let's just do that. Oh, by the way, I didn't mention this earlier, but your BitPixel, this acrylic scratches really easy. So put something, put some bubble wrap, put some micro cloth fiber, something beneath it, because when it's on the surface, you're going to scratch it. So highly recommend that. So let's take out these screws. These ones are a little hard to get out. You might just have to kind of unscrew them and then flip it over to get them to come out. Okay, let's see if we got everything loosened up here. Be careful when you take this piece out. And actually, before you take this out, let's go ahead and unplug whatever's plugged into the controller board. So that's these three cables here. And then we lift this guy up. It should just kind of come out. All right. And looks like I still have panel kind of connected here. So let's undo this a little bit more. There we go. Okay, so this part will just lift out. So let's just set it aside. And for the moment, let's set this aside. So let's go back here, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of flip this over. And I want to get these screws because these are really easy to lose. So let's get those out before we lose them. Okay, so step number one. First thing we need to do is replace the controller board. So let's flip this over. And you'll notice this is attached with 4 screws. You can see there. So we're just going to undo those screws. These screws we're actually not going to reuse, so you can set those aside. Okay, now before I remove this board, pay very close attention to the orientation. So you notice that, okay, and then here's our replacement board. We want to basically emulate the orientation. So notice that the SD card is right here, and then the power and the USB is right here. So if we flip this over, we want to basically make it the same. So the SD card is right here, and then our power and our USB is right here facing the same orientation. So let's just pop this up, got the same orientation, and then here, see these holes are pre-drilled? Just line them up. So go ahead and line up those holes with these 4 holes. And then the kit will come with 4 new screws because these screws are a little bit longer. So what you can probably do is get it started by hand. And these are wood screws, so it may be a little easier to use your screw gun to get them in. But feel free to go by hand as well. Just don't over tighten. Okay, same thing here. Okay, so let's go ahead and flip it back over. And then we just want to check to make sure we got orientation right. So flip it back over. See, I got a little room here to get into the SD card. And then my USB should be pointing towards the right. So I'm good to go there. So let's set this at the top here. Let's go back here. Okay, so now we're going to replace the panels. Go ahead and unplug everything on here. These 2 cables we won't need anymore, so set those aside. These ribbon cables, we're going to reuse these, so just keep these. And then now we got to pop in the new panels. Okay, so take these panels out. May want to just kind of wipe down the inside here, make sure you don't have any dust in the middle. Okay, now here's a tricky part. So the new panels, you notice one panel has this kind of open space here. The other panel has this extra little piece here. The one with the open space, put on the left side, just like this. The other panel put on the right side. So again, if you look at our panels, the one with this little open space we need to have on the left. The one on the right is with this extra bracket. All right. Now we need to do is take our new, actually we can go ahead and plug these cables back in. So let's go ahead and do that. These are notched, by the way, so they only go in one way. Power cable. Okay, so this is a new cable that comes with the kit. So if you look at the cable, it's got these 2 power cords. It's got the male end of a DC jack and the female end. The male end you want pointing to the left. So that pointing to the left, go ahead and pop these guys in. These are also notched, so they only go in one way. Okay. So that is our power cable. Now we're going to go back here and pop this guy on. And so take this one here, and you can just put it in through one of these gaps here. So it's going to come out on this side. And this other one, it's actually going to plug into the board. So let's pop that into the board. And then I think I forgot actually to plug in the other ribbon cable. So let's do that on the main controller board. Okay, so now let's just kind of set this on here. If we did everything, it should be nice and flush. I may have to kind of finagle with it a little bit. Okay, so now it's nice and flush, it's flat. And so the key to this kit, you see the board, we don't want the board sticking out, right? We want this to be lower than the frame, and that you can see that's exactly what's going on here. So we've done our job right there. Now let's plug this back in and kind of tuck that cable in like that a little bit. Now before I add all the screws back, it's always a great idea to just power it on, make sure everything's good. A couple things you want to check here. On the board, there's a little toggle switch here. One's pointing to USB, one's pointing to BT. BT is Bluetooth. You don't want it pointing to Bluetooth. Make sure it's always pointing down towards the USB connector. That's the USB mode, which is what we want. Make sure you got your SD card in there. So this comes with the kit, so you should already have it. Make sure that's plugged in. And then this is super important. Okay, so the new board is powered off 5 volts. The original BitPixel, your power brick was actually a 12 volt power brick. So 100% do not plug in the 12 volt power brick into this. It will fry it 100% of the time and everything will be destroyed. So you don't want to make that mistake. So make sure you're only using this new power brick. And if you look on it, just to be safe, you'll see it says 5 volts, 10 amps. If it says 12 volts, it's the wrong one. Just put it away, don't use it. So let's go ahead and plug this in. I'm gonna plug it in here. So just like so. And then you see a little red indicator light. So that's good news. That means we've got power. And just flip it over and you'll see a nice little slideshow. And that tells you things are working as they should. So go ahead and flip it back over. We can unplug power and then let's just attach everything. So let's go back to those original screws that we saved here. I would start with the ones on the end. And you could use a screwdriver or the screw gun, totally up to you. Okay, so we got the wood screws in. Now let's do the panel screws. Again, these little guys, we don't need those. All right, so got everything put back together. Let's just power it on again. Again, doubly sure, make sure you got that 5 volt power brick. And flip it over. Got our slideshow going. One note that your original board, if you want the Ultimate Legends animation, just take out the SD card on your original board and then you can pop that in, assuming your SD card is still good. Then you would see the Legends Ultimate animation, or just go with this one, totally up to you. Use your existing USB cable. If you need another USB cable, let us know and you can get that separately. But this is the same USB cable that it came with. And then just connect that to your AtGames Legends and you should be back up and running. So hopefully that was helpful. As always, thanks for tuning in.